I was born in May 1945. The illegitimate son of a Canadian soldier and an English mother. The seclusion of my birth in a room in London contrasted with the exuberant celebrations of victory that took over the street outside. Soon after, my father left for Canada in a troop ship while my mother waited and prayed for his return. After 18 months, my mother realized she had been abandoned by my father, and it was arranged for me to be adopted. I can't remember the day my mother gave me up, but my life changed from that moment. It was the same for my mother, and her pain was my pain.
My mother groaned, my father went into this dangerous island, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a figment in a cloud, struggling in my father's hand.
Daily physical beatings were a regular feature of my new adopted life in Brighton. I quickly developed the art of running away and hiding in a nearby church. This is where I sought refuge and safety, and this is where my religion and my relationship with God was born. Secondary school was for thugs, and that was the teachers. Now it was beatings at school as well as at home. However, though, I loved music, violin, choir, French and chess, I became extremely rebellious and enjoyed basking in my growing notoriety. But violence at home came to a head, and at age 13 I was removed from my adoptive parents and taken into local authority care, where I was fostered by an adoptive sister and her husband, and so began a new life of stability. From that moment on, a time when fun and laughter and trust all began to take shape. Age 15 and a half, I joined the RAF as a mechanic, thrown into the deep end as learning to relate to others was very difficult for me. For many years, from the age of 15 to 30, the RAF became my family.
Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, for I am with you. Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, and I shall be with
I was married at 21 to Judith, and we looked to build our own family together. And along came Jonathan and later Claire. These, I can honestly say, were the happiest days of my life. What more could I have wished for? As a family, we had decided to trace my dad and my mum, and Judith and the children wanted to help and join. But in the event, I was barred from seeing my dad by Canadian authorities, and at the same time rejected by my mother, who had remarried and wanted me to remain a secret. Following a fruitless trip to Canada in the 1970s, I decided to concentrate on building and enjoying life with my own family. 30 years of age, I began a 35-year career as a probation officer, a lifetime of working with very difficult individuals. Immersion in social psychology followed, and this, together with my life experience, prepared me to deal with individuals using a therapeutic relationship model, a kind of sophisticated form of befriending. Working with relationships enabled me to understand my own difficulties in making and understanding relationships. "10 years into retirement, and as a volunteer chaplain, lay minister, spiritual director, age 75 years, a letter came from Canada from my siblings, introducing themselves and wanting to meet me. But just 3 months later, tragedy struck when our beloved son John died. He had been through a lot in his life and had suffered schizophrenia for many years. He died suddenly from a burst ulcer. I had gained a family on the one hand, but on the other had suddenly lost my son. Not long after this, the Canadian family siblings invited us to Canada to meet everyone, and despite some trepidation on my part, we, Judith, Claire and myself, flew to Canada to meet them. The hospitality and generosity we received was very moving and special, but as my childhood had taught me, it can take many years to establish trust. My dad is real to me spiritually, and I made connections with all my siblings. And yet there is a world of difference between relationships forged by growing up together as opposed to a relationship that was lost for 75 years. The future and rebuilding of this family now belongs to my daughter Claire, who has not been emotionally affected by the past. But for me, I am unable to square the pain caused my mother. Neither can their generosity and kindness, for which I am so grateful, bring back my son, John. Neither can they be a substitute for the loss of my mum and dad and family that might have been.